I know what you might be saying. Yes, this isn't a baseball video. However, to be fair, this channel is known as SportStorm. My plan was always for baseball to be the primary sport I make videos on, but with some other sports sprinkled in every once in a while. The two videos on this channel that are not baseball related, well, are basketball related. I have a list of videos I plan on making next, and about half of them are not baseball related, but I think are very interesting topics to cover, like the one I'm talking about today. So, if you're interested in the future of this channel, I would appreciate if you stick around and subscribe. Alright, enough rambling, on to the topic at hand. Yes, the title may seem like clickbait, but I am not lying when I say that many of the articles that I used in research for this video reference this deal as the greatest sports deal ever, or at least along those lines. If you want to check out those articles, the links to the sources will always be in the description. So, who are the main culprits of this deal? The team in question was known as the Spirits of St. Louis, with the owners of the team, Ozzie and Daniel Silna. This story is centered around the NBA and ABA merger in 1976. However, this story and its details precede the merger, so let's talk about it. The ABA was founded in 1967. At this point, the NBA had only existed for about 21 years and was the youngest of the major sports leagues in the US, meaning it was not yet as established in the sports world as it would eventually become. The league still had to deal with competitors looking to enter the basketball world. The ABL folded after a 30-year run from 1925 to 1955. The revival of the ABL in 1961 introduced the three-point shot and a 30-second shot clock, but it folded after a season. There were also a few other leagues, but they wouldn't be as successful as the ABA. The ABA marketed itself as a more flashy, offensive style league. They adopted the ideas of a three-point line and a 30-second shot clock from the defunct ABL, and they also used a red, white, and blue colored basketball compared to the traditional orange ball in the NBA. The ABA looked to poach talent from the NBA. Perhaps the most notable player to join the ABA from the NBA was Rick Barry. What I think ultimately allowed the NBA to remain on top was Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Kareem, then known as Lou Alcindor, was drafted first overall by the Milwaukee Bucks in the NBA and first overall by the New York Nets in the ABA. He said he would play for whoever offered the highest initial offer. The Bucks won, and he played for them, despite the Nets offering a $3.25 million counteroffer. The ABA would end up poaching away 4 top referees from the NBA by offering them higher salaries and more benefits. This doesn't mean that the ABA never had any stars. 3 basketball legends, Julius Erving, Artis Gilmore, and George McGinnis, began their professional careers in the ABA, as they allowed players to leave college early and enter their draft, while the NBA did not allow players to be drafted less than 4 years after leaving high school, so essentially they needed to be in college for 4 years. This was known as the Spencer-Haywood hardship rule, which would be the framework for the NBA's current draft system, as it allowed players to leave college early and enter the draft. You may think that the ABA's goal was to compete with the NBA and become the top basketball league in the country. However, that may have not been the case. Rather than follow the footsteps of previous leagues in their attempts to compete with the NBA, at the ABA's inception, owners of these teams saw ownership of a team as an investment opportunity. According to one of the owners of the Indiana Pacers, its goal was to force a merger with the more established league, the NBA in this case. Potential investors were told that they could get an ABA team for half of what it would cost to get an NBA expansion team at the time. When the merger occurred, ABA officials said their investment would more than double. So these guys saw the league as a long-term investment opportunity. In order for their investment to pay off, they needed to differentiate themselves from the NBA, but in a good way. That's why they adopted those new rules from the ABL. The ABA would actually revolutionize one other thing that we all love today, the slam dunk contest. In 1976, the year of the merger, the ABA hosted the first ever slam dunk contest, which took place at the 1976 ABA All-Star Game. The owners were trying to prove to the NBA that the ABA was a viable league to merge with. The event itself was performed in front of a sellout crowd, as they would watch the eventual winner of the event, Julius Erving, take home the prize of $1,000. The event was a success, and it convinced the NBA to hold a season-long slam dunk tournament during the 1976-1977 season. In 1984, they would reintroduce the slam dunk contest with the format we are all familiar with today. To reiterate, the ABA proved their viability as a league, giving the NBA confidence that a merge could occur. However, why would the merge occur? Of course, we established that the owners of ABA teams really saw the league as an investment opportunity for a merge. But why didn't the ABA itself become popular with basketball fans like the NBA? Well, it was due to the lack of a national TV contract and poor attendance numbers. How did this affect the league during its tenure? Well, let's look at this timeline of the teams in the ABA. Keep in mind, the league only lasted 10 seasons. To sum up this timeline, there were a lot of teams that rebranded or folded during the short lifespan of the league. Only 2 teams survived the entire lifespan of the league, and those teams were the Kentucky Colonels and the Indiana Pacers. So while the ABA had poor numbers for the majority of the time they were in business, the sold-out slam dunk contest / all-star game convinced the NBA of their viability. Well, despite all the owners who remained diligent during this process, the NBA said only 4 teams would join the NBA in the merger. The others would negotiate settlements to fold their respective franchises. Let's look at the franchises that existed at the beginning of the 1975-1976 ABA season. Only 4 teams would enter the NBA from 10 total teams. That doesn't seem fair. Well, actually, you'll notice that 3 of these teams have some low records. The San Diego Sails, Utah Stars, and Baltimore Claws wouldn't finish the season, along with the Virginia Squires, who folded just a month before the merger, missing out on millions of dollars in compensation. Now we are left with 6 teams. The NBA would decide to adopt the Indiana Pacers, San Antonio Spurs, New York Nets, and Denver Nuggets. Now 2 teams remain, but in order for the merger to take place, the NBA would have to negotiate with these teams and convince them to fold their franchises. Despite existing through the duration of the ABA's existence, the Kentucky Colonels were one of the teams that had the fold. The NBA negotiated with John Y. Brown, owner of the Kentucky Colonels, by giving him a $3.3 million settlement in exchange for shutting his team down. Brown would use that money to buy the Buffalo Braves, who are now known as the Los Angeles Clippers. Now, onto the second team that needed the fold, the Spirits of St. Louis. They could have taken a similar offer to John Brown, but owners Ozzie and Daniel Silna held out for more. The Spirits had accumulated a talent pool that leveraged their bargaining power. On the court, they employed all-stars like Moses Malone, Marvin Barnes, and Maurice Lucas. Their local play-by-play announcer was the young Bob Costas. Due to this leveraging power, they knew that they could make a deal that they would want and not just get bought out. So what did they do? They would receive payment for any of their players that were drafted by an NBA team, an amount which came to approximately $2.2 million. And they would receive 1/7 of the media rights of each of the 4 ABA teams that were joining the NBA, which works out to about 57% of a full share. I know this is confusing, so to put it in simpler terms, Ozzie and Daniel Silna would be receiving approximately 2% of the entire NBA's television revenue. This deal would exist in perpetuity, meaning for as long as the NBA or its successors exist. Also, the percentage that the brothers would receive would never drop, no matter how successful the NBA would become or how much they would expand. The deal worked out for both parties because TV earnings were basically an afterthought at the time, so the NBA didn't even bat an eye at those terms. In the beginning, this would only net the brothers around $200,000 to $300,000 per year. However, things would pick up immensely after the NBA exploded in popularity in the 1980s. By 2014, the Silna brothers had earned around $300 million from this deal. However, at this point, the brothers believed they were owed more, due to the creation of international TV contracts and online streams like NBA League Pass. So the league attempted to negotiate a buyout agreement. Well, in 2014, the league and the former ABA teams offered the Silna brothers a one-time payment of $500 million, so the league could own a majority share of the former Spirits franchise, in order to control the portion of the TV revenue rights of those former ABA teams. And that is how an ABA team and its owners created the greatest deal in sports history, allowing them to collect a total of $800 million in revenue. I suppose the lesson to be learned here is that sometimes betting on the future can offer a more lucrative return in the end. In research for this video, I found that there was an ESPN 30 for 30 made on this exact topic. It's called Free Spirits. I didn't watch it because I don't have ESPN Plus. But if you're interested in finding out more about this topic and going more in depth, that ESPN 30 for 30 is for you. I will leave a link to that ESPN page along with the sources used in this video in the description. That's all I have to say. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching.